every time I'd play a Chinese player, it'd be on like the U.S. West, basically, because I live East Coast and they're in China.
Yeah.
And like I thought they were not bad, right? But after actually playing with them, when we both have lower ping, like they're scary. Like especially if like Firefly is really scary.
I feel like Lemon has been looking good.
Yeah,
too.
Lemon. That guy, I lost him my first series. I played against him on like some like KSL Cup or something like that. And I was like, wait a second, what just happened?
Yeah, he beat Oliveira.
Hey, SC Historian here, and today I have on one of North America's most promising young up-and-comers within the StarCraft scene, Future. Joe and I were able to cover a whole bunch of topics, ranging from his start within StarCraft to his take on more recent developments within the scene. If you're excited about this one, be sure to get subscribed so you don't miss out on future releases with other awesome guests. If you really enjoy what I do, consider supporting me on Patreon. Your support really helps. And for now, without further ado, here's my word with Future.
But anyway, Future, thanks so much for taking the time today, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited to talk to you.
Yeah. So you're an interesting player to me in the sense that, like, especially as far as the American scene goes, we don't have too many young people. I think, relative to your age, you're like 20 now?
So I'm 22 right now.
22, okay. Yeah. And I feel like given the time period that you started, like the scene was on a bit of a decline at the time when you sort of really started rising up within the community. What kept you motivated when there was a lot of like naysaying within the scene?
Yeah, so I'd say I just really liked playing StarCraft. Like it's a very engaging game. I think that's a lot of where a lot of it came from, is just I really enjoyed the experience of playing StarCraft. I really enjoy the idea of like, okay, StarCraft is what I'm going to do, and that's just kind of what I'm thinking about all the time. Like, to me, that's a really desirable way to live life, is just having this thing you just really focus on. And I got a lot of that when I was playing, and that kind of kept me with it. Like every day I was engaged with it, and it was just like I was never really playing for money, you know what I mean? Or like obviously there is money to be won.
Sure.
But it was just a very rewarding and engaging experience that really appealed to me.
Yeah, no, I feel like that is like, for the people that end up sticking around within a gaming community, I feel like that's the way it goes, right? Like you fall in love with the game, and if you get good enough at it, the money comes, but like loving the game is really the thing, right? So I guess that takes me, if we roll the clock back a little bit, how did you first get involved with StarCraft? What got you interested?
So it's actually a pretty interesting story. So my first exposure to StarCraft was probably back in Wings of Liberty beta. This is like 2009, 2010. My older brothers would watch Husky on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I remember there's like one video that just sticks out in my mind. It was like I had no idea what was happening, but it was like Mass Banshee, and it was against Mass Colossus. Yeah. And I watched the Mass Banshee win, and I was like, oh my, this game is so sick.
Yeah.
So that was my first exposure to it, but I never really got into it at that time because I was just so young back then. And then I remember Heartless Swarm was coming out. I still would watch Husky even though I didn't play the game. And it was the beta, and my brother-in-law was actually living with my family at that point.
Sure.
So when he would go to work, I would play on his account because he had the beta key.
Yeah.
And then the game came out, I want to say March 12th, and my birthday was March 9th. So when the game came out, he bought Heartless Swarm for me for my birthday. And that was my first experience with StarCraft. And I remember like...
So you were like 8, 9?
Man, I have no clue how old I was.
14 years ago, right?
Yeah, I was pretty young. I just remember I got gold pretty quick, and I was like really excited about that. And I got up to Diamond.
Yeah.
And I got Diamond Season 1, and I got Master Season 2 with Heartless Swarm. But then I got frustrated with Protoss at the time, because Protoss at the time, it was like your Blinkstalker all-ins and DT. So then I think I just stopped playing the game.
Yeah.
And then come like mid-2016, maybe early-ish 2016, Legacy of the Void had come out kind of recently.
Yeah.
I went up to my older brother. I was like, yo, I want to play StarCraft, but like I was a kid, so I just didn't really have money. Yeah. So he bought me it. It was like $40. And that's how I got into Legacy of the Void. And then since then, I've been playing pretty consistently.
Did any of those people, like any of your brothers or your brother-in-law, did any of them keep playing StarCraft, or like not so much?
They didn't keep playing StarCraft, but they still keep, they pay attention to my games and they like watching it. But yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's it's so interesting, these dynamics, how different people sort of end up, entering into these, different gaming fields and getting so dedicated to them. And I feel like a lot of times that is how it is, where somebody who was like kind of vaguely interested in the game introduces it to somebody, and then they kind of feel like, oh, like, this is my thing. And, it's the thing that sticks with them as opposed to even the people that introduced, them to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, have you ever been really involved in any other gaming communities that you put any time into?
Yeah, so I play League of Legends at a pretty high level. I'm actually trying to play League of Legends collegiately when I transfer. So right now I'm just doing community college.
Yeah.
I've been doing that for 2 years, but I've been doing it pretty slowly because I've just been incorporating working full time in school.
Yeah.
But I have 1 semester left, or 2 semesters left, 1 year left for community college, and then I'm going to transfer to UNC Charlotte. And then there I'm going to try to play for their collegiate team. And they're like decent. They have like, when I talked to them about it, they had like 4 Grandmaster players and like a Diamond player.
Yeah.
And so I'm definitely gonna try to do that, probably in like a year to 2 years from now. And then that's probably, I play a little bit of CS, but I'm not as good as that.
So outside of StarCraft, was gaming a significant part of like your life with your family, like in your household?
Yeah, for sure. Like I was very, very competitive with my brothers.
Yeah.
So I actually have 5 brothers. So among those brothers, like I still remember when there came a point where they weren't good enough to beat me and my little brother, and that was a pretty big thing for us because we're so competitive. And that's kind of maintained because now they're working full time and they have their own life and all that stuff. But I've always just been playing games, whether it's like I started with the N64 and then I got the GameCube and then I remember because I used to play Frozen Throne. I would play that on my older sister's computer because she would work like just like some sort of IT job or something, and then she'd go and I'd just play Frozen Throne, and I would play like the arcade maps, like I'd play like it was like Risk and Dota, and there was like Hero Line Wars. Yeah. So it's always been something that me and my brothers have always, especially bonded over.
Yeah. Do you have a specific achievement from the like duration of your career, or a win that like just meant a lot to you?
Yeah, I mean, probably my first major win was Cheesy Delphi 8.
Yeah.
That holds a pretty significant. It just means a lot to me because it was just like I just remember at that point, like things were pretty tough from like a personal standpoint. Like there's a lot of stuff going on with my family that was quite bothersome, and it stressed me a lot. And like at that point, it was like I had won Cheesy Delphi 8, and it was like a crazy, crazy tournament. Like I beat Rob in an extremely close series in the round of 16. I beat Masa 3-1 in the round of 8, and that was like a big deal because Masa was like the innate Terra next to Special, and then beat Special 3-2, and then beat Puck 4-2 in the finals. And that was just crazy. And then like a month after that, there was like a WSG tournament that I had a pretty good result in as well. So like that specific time frame meant a lot to me. But at the same time, like I had the, like in recent time, I just had top 4 in the most recent ESL Spring Regionals.
Yep.
And it was probably the most satisfying result I've had. Like I was very, very just content and happy with how things played out. Like I got top 4. Like I wasn't very happy that I kind of got blasted by Scarlet and Estrella 3-0. But overall, like it was a tournament that I was very happy with.
You beat Estrella earlier.
I did beat Estrella, yeah.
2-0, right?
So I beat him 3-0 in the playoffs first round, and that was massive. I was really excited about that.
Yeah, that was one of those results where like I didn't catch all the games, and I was like, wait, that's pretty sick.
Yeah, I know.
I got to go back and watch those games.
I was really happy about that.
It was a good
awesome.
series.
And especially because like I kind of brought my own flair. Like I played some strategies that I don't think you're going to see many Terrans play at all.
Which kind of like turns the table. I feel like that's what Estrella does, right?
Yeah.
Gets people uncomfortable, gets them off their feet, and it's sort of like a bit of a taste of his own medicine in that sense. No, that's great. Are there any particular losses that like you really still look back on?
No. So there's another WSG. I was doing pretty well. Like I think in the bracket, I beat like Pili, I beat Nina, I think I beat Estrella. This was like 2019 maybe. And then I was up.
Remember TY won?
I don't remember who won it.
Yeah.
I think it might have actually been canceled. I don't think the actual WSG got played.
Yeah,
I think
it was COVID, right? Yeah, you're right.
So then I had a pretty good run, and then I played against Neeb in the finals, and I went up 3-0, and I got reverse swept. And it was like a $10,000 prize pool at the time, and I was like,
Yeah, Neeb is he's a tough one, and honestly, that's really only like a couple years off his peak, right? Like 2017 is when he swept the whole circuit. So you're talking maybe 18 months, like ish, after that.
He was good. It was like he was just so unbelievably consistent.
Yeah,
and it was just he was comfortable playing every stage and every kind of game. Like there were no clear weaknesses, at least that I could find. So it was really hard to play against him.
So earlier we were talking about how you gauge success before the interview, and you kind of talked about that, like in terms of comfortability between stages of the game. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, I can just kind of talk about my career and kind of my experience with that as a whole. Like I remember, so let's just talk about Cheese Delphi because we just brought that up. At that point, like I was a very strong mechanical player, and I had very strong micro. But I didn't have a lot of confidence to play each and every stage of the game. So like a lot of part of that is also the meta. Like I remember back in the day, like it was a lot harder to play consistent Terran. Like it was harder to go up to 3 bases, harder to go up 4 bases.
Yeah.
So that definitely influences it. But I was way more comfortable just 2-base all-inning, hitting sharp timings. And then kind of like as you develop as a player, it's like you need to be more comfortable to play in each of these stages because you're playing against some of the best players in the world.
Yeah.
And they're going to test you. And you can get advantages and leads, but they're going to make you play each stage of the game the way you need to play each stage of the game. And if you can't, then you're just going to get skill checked basically. So for me, a big leap that I had recently was I took the trip to Korea last year during the summer. And I think that made my TVZ significantly more well-rounded. Like I feel very comfortable playing late game, and I just feel like I can play that stage of the game to a much higher level than I could before. And I think my TVP I have a lot of confidence in. And then right now it's just TVT, I don't really quite believe in it right now. Like specifically against the Korean Terrans, I just can't really, it doesn't feel like I can win. Like even if I get advantages, I don't believe in myself to win a game. So
I feel like
that's
especially
hard.
about getting practice against Terrans of that level.
Yeah.
Because when we talk about European and American Terrans, like there are obviously like Kelliger and the Spirits of the world, and
Yeah.
like obviously those guys are very good, Hero Marine, whatever. Also on that level, but the Korean Terrans historically and now as well seem to be a bit of a cut above.
Yeah.
When you talk about Gumio, Kyor, Maru.
And the way
Ryung.
I feel about it is they take a lot of risks and they take good risks. So they're always keeping the game dynamic, I guess you could say. And they're also more aggressive. Like there's always a medevac on the map. There's always different things that are going on the map. Whereas when I play against European Terrans, they are very strong players, right? But it's a lot more predictable and it's a lot more static, right? Okay. It's like they're gonna play their Ravens, they're gonna go into Vikings, and they're gonna go with their 3CC, they're gonna get their upgrades. And it's a strong style to play. But there's just something different about the way the Korean Terrans play, where there's more variance and they're taking more risks. And that's something I want to imitate my own play, for sure.
What about being in Korea do you feel helped you develop so much, whether it was a specific matchup or just in general? Were you playing against a lot of Koreans over there?
Yeah, so there's it's kind of hard to get games. Like you can't get games all day.
Yeah.
But there definitely is like a window that I found. It was like between like 9 a.m. or like 9 p.m. to like 4 a.m. You'd probably get pretty good games. Like Beyond, at least I think it was Beyond on the barcode, but he'd always be queuing pretty late. A lot of the Protoss would be queuing late. So you definitely can get higher quality practice at those sort of times. So I think that was definitely a part of it. And then there's being around Estrella and Scarlet. Just talking to them, you gain a lot of knowledge and you gain a lot of perspective on just the way that they see the game. And then another big thing, and like this is one thing that I think about, where it's like right now I'm balancing school and work, right? And it's like I can still play StarCraft.
Yeah.
But there's just a certain amount of mental energy you can dedicate towards it. Where like when I was in Korea, I could just think about the game more. And not only that, but I would spend a lot of time just against the AI, just fleshing out a builder, thinking about a builder. And I think that was really, really useful, is just having more time to think about something and engage with it. That is kind of hard for me to get here, at least just in my daily life. But, just trying to maintain my mechanical skill and still trying to learn.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Especially the concept of being able to, just wake up and not have any other responsibilities, be able to just talk about the game, play the game, and not have to worry about too much else that's going on in life, right? Like I think that is a very different way to approach things when you can really dedicate yourself fully to something. So we've seen a lot of development within the StarCraft scene. Like I kind of touched upon earlier, historically there was a lot of doom and gloom. StarCraft wasn't top of the world, and then it wasn't, and all these other games, became pretty massive and kind of outshone what was going on. And then we did see a lot of sort of reduction and rollback over the years, but now we're entering into this sort of period of second growth and rebirth. Obviously, there's all the Saudi investment, but we're seeing, sort of independent investment like this Bulgarian tournament that's being developed. The Chinese scene seems to be doing really well. How do you feel about the overall state of the StarCraft scene right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty exciting. Like, the more tournaments there are, obviously the better. And honestly, I just love the whole experience of preparing for a tournament. I think that's also what a lot of other players get out of it. So, I mean, it's just an exciting time, and definitely hope that these things continue. On the topic of the Chinese thing, that was pretty awesome. I think they're getting their server back from what I heard.
Yeah.
So that's massive, especially. And, time is doing well here at Dallas. So that I think there's a lot of Chinese fans that are really excited about
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah. And I remember in Atlanta too, there was a lot of Chinese students from like the local universities and stuff that came out to show support.
Yeah,
and
it's awesome.
I saw a bit of a contingency of some of those similar guys with the DKZ gear and everything.
Yeah,
so,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it is great for them. Yeah, it's so fun. Like I feel like that's something that we lack a little bit in the modern StarCraft scene as opposed to years ago. I feel like there were a lot of like hometown heroes, and you had these contingencies of different fans from different parts of the world that like loved Snoot, that loved like these individual people because they represented like their region. And I feel like that's been lost a little.
Yeah, for sure.
So it is really fun to see, especially, with the Chinese scene, which has always been a little disjointed from the rest of the community. I feel like we're seeing way more international interaction and recognition of what's going on with China
Yeah, I
and like their scene than
I
before.
feel like it was interesting for me because like when I went to Korea, every time I'd play a Chinese player, it'd be on like the U.S. West, basically, because I live in East Coast and they're in China.
Yeah.
And like I thought they were not bad, right? But after actually playing with them, when we both have lower ping, like they're scary. Like especially if like Firefly is really scary.
I feel like Lemon has been looking good.
Yeah,
too.
Lemon. That guy. I lost him my first series I played against him on like some like KSL Cup or something like that. And I was like, wait a second, what just happened?
Yeah, he beat Oliveira in the Asia bracket as well. He did ultimately lose to him in the rematch, but he gave him a run for his money even in that series. And like, Oliveira really is the king of the Asian scene outside of Korea, obviously. And so, yeah, to see him bleed like that, that's fun. That's exciting.
Yeah,
to see a new face, like not necessarily new, but like a face that people are not that familiar with, taking games, taking series off these high-level players. And Firefly is another representation of the same thing. He had a great showing in Katowice, it was, right? So yeah, like there's tons of development in that sense. So yeah, it seems like a pretty wonderful time. Not necessarily out of nowhere, but in a way that I think a lot of people maybe didn't expect.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think they're definitely underrated, a lot of them. I think they're a lot stronger, and especially because, as you said, they're just a bit more isolated from the rest of it. But yeah, they're serious competitors for sure.
Absolutely. So how do you feel? How do you feel about the Saudi investment in StarCraft? I mean, or in esports in general. I think that there's been a bit of contention regarding that. How do you feel about the overall situation?
Yeah, I mean, from a competitor standpoint, it's nice because there's more money in the scene, and that's kind of just what I focus on. It's hard for me to speak more beyond that. So I think as a player, it's nice that there's more money and there's more tournaments to play in. But yeah, it is what it is.
Fair enough. Yeah, understood. So you signed with Matcherino, what was it, about 6 months ago, 8 months ago, something like that. How's that experience been so far? How do you like being with them?
Yeah, it's pretty nice. It's interesting because Matcherino's been around for a long time, and they've been a very, very stable business. So it feels good to represent them, especially because in the earlier days of StarCraft, I played in a ton of tournaments that were crowdfunded from Matcherino.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, it's been pretty awesome, and the owner is very, very kind. Grant, I like him a lot. But yeah, it's just been a very positive experience.
Yeah, I would imagine it's a really cool feeling to not only obviously represent a cool organization, but an organization that is not like an outside organization, right? In the sense that they have been integral to a lot of grassroots StarCraft stuff for many, many years now. And so, yeah, I was so happy to see them, entering into the StarCraft space and, picking up a roster and things of that nature, because it's a name that's been around forever, and I think it's a name that's, pretty well respected within the community. And yeah, it's fun to see a new NA org pop up and support, players like yourself.
Yeah, I've definitely been happy. It's been good so far.
Awesome. Well, I think that's about what I have prepared for you. Thank you so much for doing the piece, man.
Yeah,
any
awesome.
closing words?
Yeah, I mean, just thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoy talking about these sort of things, and it's these sort of interviews. I feel like the last time I did something kind of like this was with Pig, and that was probably like back in 2017, 2018. So it's kind of just nice to talk about these thoughts a little bit. I definitely have a lot of thoughts.
Is there anything we can touch upon you'd like to talk about?
No, I think we covered everything. It was pretty nice. I enjoyed this a lot.
Fantastic. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this one, be sure to leave a like and a comment down below. Get subscribed so you don't miss out on future releases like this one. If you really enjoy what I do here, consider supporting me on Patreon. The link is in the video description. That's all for now, my friends. Until next time.